This week in our series of political profiles, we're sitting down with Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett, who's seeking his third term in office. Welcome, Mr. Leggett. Thank you for taking the time.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
One of the things that we are trying to do in this profile series is to allow Montgomery County voters an opportunity to get to know those who are seeking public office. But that's hardly necessary in your case, since you've been a fixture in Montgomery County politics since you ran for county council in 1986. You're not old. I don't want to date you any more than you already are.
Yeah.
Now, when you were elected county executive in 2006, it happened to be on the cusp of the Great Recession. What were the challenges you had to overcome during those initial years?
Well, before the Great Recession, we had a huge increase in our local budget in Montgomery County, 36% in the last 3 years of the previous administration. So we had that increase plus the Great Recession. I had to close nearly $3 billion in budgetary gaps. And guess what today? We're in a much better position. Today we have the highest financial reserves in the history of Montgomery County.
Well, that's a great accomplishment. And that dovetails into the next question, which is, some would argue that after 2 successful terms in office, you've been there, done that, you even got the T-shirt for it. So what's left? Why are you running for a third term?
Well, a number of other things I want to accomplish. Number one, transportation is really a real challenge for us in Montgomery County. I was successful in helping to push through the gasoline tax that now provides Montgomery County with $1 billion. We need to make certain that we get through that transportation relief that I want to see happen. Secondly, school construction. I want to make certain that kids have seats in the schools, our schools are modernized, and we can move forward from that. So there's some unfinished business, if you will, for the things I want to do in the future.
Well, one of the criticisms, there are 3 criticisms that are brought up repeatedly by your opponents, is that the county needs to be more competitive and get its competitive edge back and become more affordable if we're going to be a prominent business location going forward in the future.
I think that we are competitive, but there are some challenges we have, and the challenges are really not here in Montgomery County, but I think probably in Annapolis, and we need to work on that. Certainly there are some things we need to do differently. But competition is one that we really have to stay on top of, because it requires someone with the skills, the leadership, and the ability to deal aptly with the people in Annapolis, and I think we've done a pretty good job of that.
You know, one thing that we talk about week in and week out on our program is a comparison between ourselves and the surrounding jurisdictions, whether or not Montgomery County and the state of Maryland is a business-friendly environment. What can you do as county executive to make it more attractive to business?
Well, number one, we've changed 67 regulations in terms of land use policy in Montgomery County. Secondly, if you look at the percentage of taxes for a Montgomery County resident, it's actually gone down in my administration by 10% over the last 4 years. So if you look at those things in reality, I think you'll see that there's an awful lot of change. But the perception is still there. We simply have to go through those things so people see them and feel them. But the perception is still there, and we have to work on that.
Well, there's perception, and there's also the reality. With the change in the zoning laws that the park and planning are dealing with, there have been some slowdowns in issuing subdivision plans, site plans between the permitting office and park and planning. What can be done to make that process go smoother? Because in real life, I'm a real estate lawyer, and I know my clients who apply for a simple subdivision plan of a lot sometimes take more than a year to get it approved.
Believe it or not, we're fighting with park and planning about that as you speak, and I want to make certain that we change and consolidate some of those things. We have a proposal that we're evaluating now with a force that look very carefully at what you've just described. But to give you an example of what I'm talking about, in years past, it would have taken you 6 to 8 weeks to get a fire code permit. Today, it only takes you 1 to 3 days. We moved a lot of the confusion, complexity, and I think we're getting much better at those things.
One of the criticisms that comes up is the special relationship that unions have with not just the county executive's office, but the county council's office, because this is a one-horse town. As a democratically controlled council, they feel that the unions have too much influence in the county budgeting process and what's going on there.
Well, I don't think that's the case with me. As you may recall, the unions and I have been in and out of court for some time. Let me give you an example of what I did in terms of my leadership as county executive. I eliminated COLAs for 4 years. I eliminated the pay grade that we have in the county for 3 years. I furloughed employees. I even furloughed myself. We changed the health benefits. We changed the retirement benefits. I eliminated 10% of the entire workforce of Montgomery County. No county executive, no mayor, no governor did as much as I did for as long as I did. So I think that's a a label that's really not apt in this case.
Now, you talked about transportation, and there are two transportation topics that are in the news lately. One, of course, is the Purple Line. What's going to happen with the Purple Line, and why are people still opposed to the building of the Purple Line?
Well, it's a very controversial line because it comes very close to neighbors' homes, and I think what we're looking at now is the challenge of people living very close to it to make certain that those impacts are not as adverse as they should be. And that's a process we need to go through. There are some legitimate concerns out there. I think the Purple Line can go forward, but we have to deal with those community concerns.
But and that Purple Line really is going to tie the economic of Montgomery County and Prince George's County, and really needs to go forward to make ourselves more viable, I presume.
I think our challenge right now is not in terms of the impacts locally. We're going to work through those things, but to make certain that the money's there to go forward with this. But the challenge for us right now is to stay on course, and I think we are.
All right. And the last thing, of course, is the controversy over this Silver Spring Metro Center and the poor development. What's going to happen there, and how soon is that going to be resolved?
Well, number one, I take responsibility for it. I would not open that center unless I was satisfied that it was ready to be opened, and we are not going to do so until it's ready. Right now, we're simply waiting on the weather, and the last piece of that will start sometimes whenever it could get about 40 degrees for about 40 days. I think we will complete it and turn it over to Metro. So it was long delayed, and I was responsible for delaying, but I was not about to open unless I was satisfied that the center was ready and it was safe.
Well, there's one other transportation question that I have to ask you, and that's from one of our captive viewers, a Miss Casey Aiken. And I know where she lives, and she wants to know what's up with all the speed cameras, and can you take some down on 7 Locks Road?
Well, I got a recommendation from a good friend of yours, Crystal, who told me we need them in Montgomery County to reduce speed, and I'm looking at it right now, I think. So maybe we'll do something about that. But yeah, there may be a little too many, and we're going to back to evaluate that and want to make certain that the roads in Montgomery County are safe.
Well, you know, I appreciate your taking the time to be with us today. You certainly do have the energy and the vision to go into a third term. So it was wonderful for you to spend a few minutes with us tonight.